Hello there. We are continuing our series on Learn Chess Fundamentals from Paul Morphy. And we are still on our opening rule number 5, which states make as few pawn moves in the opening as you can. So to demonstrate this principle, once again, I will show you a game between John Schulten as white and Paul Morphy as black. This game was played in New York in 1857, and I think it is very, very instructive in that respect. Okay, so let's get to the game. John William Schulten plays e4, and Paul Morphy replies by playing e5. So this is usual stuff. And now white goes for King's Gambit. So the point of King's Gambit is to challenge black's center, and similar to Queen's Gambit, the idea is to trade the side the wing pawn with the center pawn, and to get the advantage. And one of the very popular responses is not to allow white to have the center, but instead put your own pawn in center with d5. This is called Folkbeer counter gambit. And in the old days, if you read, for example, books written by Richard Reti, you will see that it was considered as a refutation of King's Gambit. So Reti literally says that in his book. He says that Folkbeer counter gambit refuted King's Gambit. Well, it's not actually refuted, but the truth is that playing in this way, you obstruct white's main ideas. So if white goes for King's Gambit, he's hoping to get his pieces mobile very fast and to attack this f7 square to prevent black king from castling and so on. And by playing this setup, white cannot have this position which he likes. And in that sense, this refutes King's Gambit because white has to play some other game that not what he wanted to play in the first place. Okay, so Folkbeer counter gambit is accepted in this game. It's usually accepted. So this e takes d4 move is the most common, but you can also play something like knight f3, and then after d takes c5, knight e5. And of course, you should never play f takes e5 because this loses on the spot with check and then with this fork. So be aware if you are playing King's Gambit not to do it. Okay, so he takes d5, and now Morphy plays e4. So he doesn't take the f4 pawn, but instead he pushes his pawn forward, and he's in this way obstructing white's development, because this f3 square is now taken, and knight cannot be naturally developed there, and also this f4 square is occupied with white's pawn, and this blocks this c1 bishop. So the idea of this move is to obstruct the white's development. Knight c3. So now white develops and attacks this pawn. And this is actually a bad move, and this is not played today anymore. Today, in this position, almost always d3 is played. So immediately you want to undermine this pawn, and then continue your normal development. Okay, but John Schulten played knight c3, and maybe some say that it was this very game which taught players not to play knight c3. So learning from this game, we learned that knight c3 is a bad move here. Knight f6 for black, and now d3. But now it's too late, because this knight is out, and this allows for this unpleasant pin. So Morphy plays bishop b4, and now bishop d2 from white, so unpinning this knight. And now black plays e3. Now black is sacrificing this pawn. He doesn't want to take on d3 and then help white develop, but instead he wants to make white's position even worse, and he sacrifices this pawn, and he gets some very nice pins as a return, as you will see in the rest of the game. So bishop takes e3 here, And now this pin is renewed. Black castles, preparing to play rook e8, and then make some more pins here. So white now brings back his bishop, so bishop d2. So notice that this bishop is going to N4. And but okay, now he's unpinning the knight. And okay, now there's several possibilities. Morphy just decided to take this knight on c3, thus removing the defender of e2 square, because Morphy is planning to play along the e file, and he wants to remove possible defenders. So this is motivation behind bishop takes c3. B takes c3 now. The idea behind this move is, well, I guess white was worried about his pawns, because this pawn is hanging, and then afterwards this pawn is hanging. And by taking with the bishop, this pawn would be left unprotected. And also after knight takes d5, black has this idea, so queen h4 check, attacking this pawn twice. So white was very concerned about his pawns, and this is why he took with b pawn instead of with the bishop. Morphy continues with his plan, so rook e8 check. White, so black is not interested in pawn grabbing. He wants to attack and to exploit total lines for his pieces. And like always in all Morphy games, he's more interested in his pieces' activity than in grabbing the pawn or getting some kind of small advantages. So bishop e2, blocking the check, and now bishop g4, exploiting the pin. So you can see that now this bishop is pinned twice. So it's pinned to the king and the queen. Instead of doing something about this, white just plays c4. So another pawn move. And now, okay, he's guarding this d5 pawn. But at what price? He's completely underdeveloped and he'll be crushed very soon. Alternative here, he could have just developed his knight, for example. And now, let's say that Morphy takes the knight, g takes f3, okay, the pawn structure is ruined. And after queen takes d5 and castles, now white has, yes, his pawn structure is ruined, but he has a good game nevertheless, because you can see all these open diagonals, and this pawn can move, so this will be open diagonal. So he has bishop pair in the open position, and this will be a pleasant game for white. I don't think white has an advantage here, but he has a pleasant game. And by moving his pawns, by playing here this c4 move, this doesn't accomplish anything. Morphy now plays c6, so he's challenging this pawn, and he's looking, actually, he's looking for a way to develop his b8 knight. And white takes, d takes c4, and Morphy just took his pawn back, developing his knight. And now let's stop here for a moment, because this whole video is about this opening rule, which states don't move your pawns in the opening. Let's count how many moves did white do here. So he played e4, f4, e takes d4, d3, b takes c3, c4, and d takes c6. So this is 7. So he made, and this is move move 12 in the game. So move 12 in the game, and he made 7 pawn moves. So more than half of his moves were with his pawns. And what does he get in return? So his king is unsafe in the middle of the board, his knight is undeveloped, his rook also is blocked by this knight, this rook is not developed. His light square bishop is pinned twice, and his dark square bishop is doing nothing. It's just staring in this f4 pawn. So white made many pawn moves, and this is the main point of this game, and he got himself in the terrible position and with pieces which are not active. And now let's look at black. So black made very few pawn moves. He moved pawns only when necessary, and he moved pawns only when it helped his development. So of course he played e5, d5, and he also played this c6, but all these moves helped his development. So his bishop got developed and this knight got developed. So every pawn move was in order to develop a piece. And the white moved his pawns just in order to protect the pawns. And now look at black position. So bishop is active, knight is active, this knight is active, this rook is very active, this queen also. It has opened the diagonal. So this rook can very easily join the attack. So all black's pieces are just crashing. So this is the lesson. Don't play with your pawns. King f1 now unpinning this bishop, and now there are not much better moves, because now after this this knight developed on c6. Now this idea knight f3 doesn't work anymore, because after bishop takes f3, g takes f3, knight d4. So not very pleasant. Or maybe white could try something like h3, but then just bishop takes e2, knight takes e2, and again knight d4. With a double attack, overpin piece, and so on. So white just decided to unpin here. Rook takes e2 here from Morphy. So this is now sacrifice already. I think Morphy is seeing the end of the game here, and he decides to sacrifice the rook. And in this way, he just wants to exploit all the pins he has. Knight takes e2 here, and now knight d4. And notice that this piece on e2 is still pinned. So even though king moved away, the queen is still there. So the pin is still there. So now white unpins, and Morphy just takes the piece. And now if you count the material, Morphy has 2 pieces for the rook, so he's even material-wise, he's better here. King f2. Nothing better to be done here. Maybe he could play king g1, but in that case knight b3, attacking the rook on a1, and at the same point, at the same moment, threatening checkmate, queen d4. So this would be very unpleasant. So probably king f2 is better. But now knight g4, check, and now the knight and the queen will be coordinated in the attack, and this is a deadly coordination. When you manage to coordinate your knight and your queen in the attack, then it's usually game over. So queen g1 now. Nothing better to do here. Maybe queen e1, but this will be met with queen e7, and now this is crashing. So queen g1 here, and now the rest of the game is practically forced. So knight f3 check, g takes f3, and now queen joins the attack, queen d4 check, king g2, queen f2 check. So notice how queen and the knight are well coordinated in this attack. So king h3, queen takes f3 check, again coordination between knight and queen, king h4, knight h6, now threatening just queen g4 checkmate, queen g1, trying to stop this checkmate, but now knight f5 check. Again, notice how queen and knight are coordinated. The only possible square is knight to g5, and now queen to h5 checkmate. So this is the game, and I think you see the moral of the story. If you move your pawns too much, then it will not be good. You will just be crushed if your opponent, instead of moving his pawns, develops his pieces. And now in this position, so white is checkmated, but at least he has his pawns. He managed to save his pawns. So he was very concerned to save c4 and f4, and okay, he succeeded in his task defending the pawns, but unfortunately he just got checkmate. Okay, let's go per usual. Let's go through the game one more time. Now, once we saw the main ideas of the game, we can go through it once more quickly, just to try to memorize some ideas and to remember some ideas better in the future. Okay, so white plays King's Gambit, e4, black responds with e5, f4, and now Folkbeer counter Gambit d5. He takes d5, and now black plays e4, undermining the development of the white pieces. Knight c3, we already saw that this was a mistake, so d3 was better, and in fact the only move which should be played in this position. But okay, John Schulten didn't know this because he was living before this theory was known. Knight f3 now just developing, and now d3, but now it's too late because this knight can be easily pinned, and this is what Morphy does with bishop b4. Bishop d2 unpinning the knight, but now e3 by Morphy, sacrificing the pawn for the open files and diagonals. So this is the idea. After this pawn is off the board, everything will be pinned. So bishop takes e3, Morphy castles, and the bishop d2, unpinning the knight. Bishop takes c3 here, so removing the defender, because the plan is to attack the king over the e file, and Morphy doesn't want to have the defender of e2 square. B takes c3. White is now very concerned about his f4 pawn, and he doesn't want to move his bishop, which protects this pawn. And of course, this is not good because White's main concern here should be the development, not pawn counting. So rook e8 check, bishop e2 blocking the check, and now bishop g4. So you can see that this diagonal is now very active, and this bishop is pinned to the king and to the queen, so double pin. White plays c4 in this position, protecting this pawn. Of course, not a good move, because he should just let this d5 pawn go and think about development. So knight f3 would be much better move in this position. But okay, he played c4, so c6. Morphy now is making the pawn move, but with the intention of development, so this is okay. D takes c4, and now knight takes c4. In this position, if you count the moves, so this is move number 12, and White made 7 pawn moves. And in return, he has all his pieces very inactive in this position. On the other hand, Black has all his pieces very active. So all his pieces are coming. Okay. So King f1 trying to unpin. Now the sacrifice of the exchange. So rook sacrifice, rook takes e2. Knight takes e2, and now this knight is still pinned because this was double pin and he only moved his king. So knight d4 now attacking this twice. White unpins, bishop takes c4 with check, and the king f2. And now this move, king f2, allows for this knight g4 check, which in turn allows coordination of knight and queen. And knight and queen coordinated in the vicinity of the king is almost always deadly attack. And we can see this attack, so knight g4 check, and now everything is pretty much forced after king g1. We have this forcing variation in which these knights and queen and bishop are very nice coordinated, and they deliver checkmate. So knight f3 check, g takes f3, queen d4 check, king g2, queen f2 check, coordinating. You can see this coordination. Now king h3, queen takes f3 check, king h4, and now knight to h6, threatening checkmate on g4. Queen g1, preventing this checkmate, but now just knight f5 check. The only legal move is king g5 and queen h5 checkmate. So White gets checkmated, but on the other hand, he gets to keep his precious f4 and c4 pawns, and learning us a very valuable lesson. Don't be over concerned with your pawns if you are underdeveloped. And that will be it for today. I hope you found this game useful. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please click the like button, subscribe to my channel, leave the comment below, and see you soon. Cheers.